Hi, so this is um this is me in the past talking to the future. So I recently went to Social Security and wanted to submit a pass program. By the way, I'm gonna be making a vlog about my whole experience on having Social Security disability and what it meant to me and all this stuff as it's part of my story. And I want to talk about um, thank you first and foremost, because when I'm in a centered space, I really do appreciate all the help that I've gotten from a system that isn't family, but it is a part of our U.S. It's part of our U.S. system, although I think it's very outdated, like many big systems, but that's okay, because it it's part of growth and it's part of change, and finding a way is probably more challenging than I know, because for one, I am not the system. I do not know this how the system works. I mean, I've worked a lot of jobs, worked a lot of positions. This current job that I work, I absolutely love and adore. I've worked there for over a year. It's my first job that I have worked in the same position with no gaps in between for 1 year. So big shout out to me, because I know I am progressing. Not sure if it has to do with the flexibility and the scheduling. I never had a job with the flexibility scheduling. Never had a job with the benefits that I receive right now that are so well worth staying for. And also, it's just, I never really been cross-trained, cross-function, cross dutied. I do a variety of tasks, and it's outside, inside, and it's just a different scenery all year long. And I think that does something for me. Of course, sometimes I had some breakdowns, some breakthroughs. There was a point where I thought I was gonna have to leave that position, but I haven't. I think I have a great support system. I think I have, I still am me. I still have it's hard to explain. I was talking to my mom about this. You can't catch schizophrenic. You can't just catch schizophrenia. It's not something that you just catch. And it was kind of hard to explain, because she asked me if I had schizophrenia, because I told her, I was just talking to her. I'm like, I don't think I can say yes, I have schizophrenia, or no, I have schizophrenia. That's just not a way to put it. I have a whole video on that if that's something you guys are interested in listening to. It's probably going to be on one of my social media platforms, because I have a plan and I have so much to offer to this, for life, for my story, for myself, for the people that can resonate and connect with me. And I'm doing my best to try to figure it out. And that's the problem. My teachers always told me, don't do everything in your head. And I don't really like writing, but I like expressing my thoughts. But of course, without writing your thoughts down, it's hard to keep organized on expressing your thoughts. I'm a very creative and idealistic and futurist type of person. Some challenges that I've been having with Social Security is that it's hard to talk to just one person, right? It's not like one person's managing your case and they're familiar with your case and you're always speaking to one person. At least not for me. I have a special case. I have a case where it started in Arizona, where I was granted to manage my own money, and it was just me. So then it was just me and Social Security. Then I moved to Wisconsin. Of course, I'm not sure if this is proper information, but I moved to Wisconsin, and then I got started receiving my funds. So I was still in the waiting period in Wisconsin, or um, I was still in the waiting period before I got approved, before I moved to Wisconsin. Um, Once I moved to Wisconsin, about 2 months after, then I got like finally started receiving my funds for Social Security. Because I say finally because it was like a long wait when you're just like not sure how the process is going, what's going on, going through all the appeals and the trials and the errors. I mean, it's a long process, and I think, you know, with the technology and the systems and I think we can like cut that to a fraction of the time that it takes to get approved. But again, I'm not, I don't know. Because again, I'm not the system. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it functions. Every department's different. How can we like update every department? You know, upgrade the spreadsheet, upgrade the whatever the case is. Um, but just like taxes, we do it electronically, and we can receive our taxes, you know, in like 7 to 21 business days rather than waiting, you know, 3 to 8 weeks or however long for a mail check. But again, I think Social Security is a little bit old school, old fashioned. It's like a grandparent. It just really does take its time. And just like grandparents are, they're stuck in their ways. So I feel like what's going to happen is eventually, regardless if the grandparents want it or not, it's going to go through remodeling and changes. And I wish that the grandparents would be a part of that change rather than just being like so so like afraid of the change. Like, I don't know what it is. It just seems like it's so afraid of the change that it wants to keep it the same, because at one point in time it was very efficient. It was very helpful. You know, Social Security probably wasn't helping this many people before, because not everybody applied for Social Security, because now mental health is a big impacting factor. And then on top of that is we're recovering from old energy that existed that we were taught now, you know? So it's just kind of like, it's disturbing, because without the grandparents' input, we can't really put a piece of them into that system. Now they can just, once the grandparents are gone, we can change it however we want, and there's nothing that can be like, oh, I wonder what our grandparents would have wanted, or I wonder what would have been a great route, you know? And the scary part is, if it's not something that's just like still attached to the original system, right? If the system's not evolved, um, there's just so many people that may be needing this stuff. Like, you know, it's just like I hope that we can continue to use the help, because I will tell you that it really did help me through being able to process a lot of things, being able to have time to myself, being able to support myself. You know, I don't think I'm disabled. I don't think I have a disability. I don't think that I'm schizophrenic. Like, I don't even know what that means. It just kind of sounds weird to just say that like I'm schizophrenic. Like, it just sounds like a made up word that has a made up imaginary observation. So it's like it doesn't have enough detail to actually understand what it is. Um, Schizophrenic, like you hear voices or a chemical imbalance. Like, I do understand there is something that happens, but I just feel like mental health isn't being sculpted enough, because it just, it's unseen, it's not really felt. It's like, okay, like, you know, I feel like it's given, like, it's being overlooked as something that's not like significant enough. So that's just kind of my backstory, a little bit background on me. I'm sorry for keeping it long and not being able to be as detailed as possible. I'm trying to educate myself a little bit in all different ways. I'm still going to school, even though school was a challenge for me. I've went to about 7 different high schools. I failed third grade. I was also in a learning program when I was younger where I, as an individual, had to get picked out by, I'm not sure what his title was exactly, but I knew that it was me getting extra help as either a third grader, I believe it was a third grade, that I would get pulled out of my classroom and go with this gentleman, and we will go in a room and we will talk. It might have to do because it was an investigation. It might had to do with, a counselor. Like, I knew it was something different, but I didn't know why. And I don't know. It was just a whole process. Um, but yeah, I never thought I was like mentally disabled because I had uh like Frankie, that's my stepdad's like brother. When I was younger, I would go to DR and I would see him and I would know what a disability was. I never knew that. I thought he had a mental disability. And I was very young, maybe like, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, probably younger, 9, maybe even 8, who knows, but I was pretty young. I'm pretty sure you can look that up in the database, or maybe ask for that information, or I'm not sure if I can even ask for that information. But yeah, there was my stepdad's mom would take care of her son who had a disability, and he couldn't talk, and it was obvious to me that he needed extra help. It was obvious to me because he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't walk, he didn't have like stable control of his body, and he you can tell it was obvious, right? It wasn't overlooked. It wasn't like, oh, he has a problem or he doesn't have a problem. It was just he need, you know, an accommodation. He needed help, and that's okay. It's okay to have accommodation. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help. It's okay to be okay with being help. It's okay to be independent in your life at one point and then be dependent in another point, and then, move back to being independent where you can take care of yourself. Right? But that's what I thought disability was. I had also an autism relative on my uncle's side. On my uncle's side of the family, he had a son who had autism, and he um he um he was disabled. He couldn't talk. um he also had a visible, not overlooked disability. All right. And I don't know really what the definition of disability. I guess this is up for you guys to decide if this is a disability or not a disability, or what disability means to you. If you have your thoughts, I don't know if you even want to comment them, because it's not really up to you guys. But yeah. So when I got diagnosed with schizophrenic, right? I was being questioned by a psychiatrist. I was being questioned by, I think most of the questions were by a psychologist, that or a psychiatrist that I was consciously like answering. But there were times where like I wasn't consciously answering to doctors, and when I was in a psych home, um, and to be honest, I met a lot of cool people in that psych home, and it was like not really like oh my god, this is gonna be my best friend. But I feel like some people were there to help me get through whatever I was going through. It's so weird. Um, so, um, so yeah, when I was approved for Social Security, um, how did I even discover Social Security? So I didn't even, this is how I started even receiving help from, like, so as a survivor benefit, as a survivor child, I was receiving monthly, um, yeah, I was receiving help from Social Security as a survivor child. I was getting that throughout my life without my knowledge, without like my knowledge, without my consent, without my knowledge, anything like that, right? Because I was a child and had nothing to do with me. It was really, you know, to support, you know, the widow or the widower, whatever the case is, whatever, the parents, the guard, I don't know. I'm not a professional here, so please don't take my words for like facts because I don't got the facts. I'm only expressing what I know and what I feel. But I was receiving survivor benefits, and when I turned about 18 years old, they started to go directly to me. I had no idea what this even was. I just finally felt like this is what, like, I guess I was more mad because I felt like it just had to do with something with me being a survival benefit. Like this was the only thing that I know. It sounds bad coming out my mouth, but I was like, this is the only thing that I'm getting out of my dad. Right? Like, I don't have any of his old belongings, not that I know of. I mean, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Like, but not for my knowledge. I have pictures of him, which is amazing. You know, I got to see what he looks like. I got to visit his graveyard. But, gosh, I hate this. Guys, just chill, okay? Just chill. I'm gonna get through this. I'll try to make this a little more insensitive. Yeah. So pretty much, I was upset that I didn't know about this, that I was receiving monthly payments. Well, I guess I wasn't receiving them directly because they weren't under my name, but it just kind of sucked to know that for some reason it felt like he was contributing. I mean, there was a system in place to feel like he was contributing. And I had to find out because it changed to be written in my name. And I was asked to cash, to consent to this check. And I did. I started to consent to it under my name. That's how I discovered about Social Security. Okay, that's how I discovered Social Security. But it wasn't really like, oh, I was looking into Social Security because I was already in a relationship, or at least getting into a relationship with the love of my life, the person who I fell in love with, the person who I asked to marry. So learning about Social Security was probably one of the last things that I was concerned about. But as I started to receive Social Security, you know, I just started to discover information. I started to educate myself, you know. At 19, if you're still going to school, you know, you can receive Social Security until you're about this age, whatever the case was, Didn't really get too into it. Fast forward, once that happened, was pretty much somehow my life just favors me in ways that it just, I don't know. I obviously have a background history where I was smoking marijuana because it seems like that has a focus when people are like drugs is what causes you to like that causes mental impairment, or I'm not sure if that's a real stigma or not if I'm making it up, but um, it sounds like it sounds like drugs. If you do drugs, it's like going to damage you. And then we don't even know how to like certify the drugs, right? Obviously, we don't want you want to be fully aware and capable at a workplace, so you don't want to be under the influence, which makes sense. We want you at your best. And I think that's why we don't drink alcohol or do drugs like marijuana at work, right? Even if it's legal or not legal, like we just don't want to do that because we want you at your best, because you're doing something that needs your attention and your awareness. However, marijuana for me, at first, it was introduced to me in a young age. There's nothing that I could do about it. It was around my neighborhood. It was around my life. I was born in, I don't know if I was born in the hood. Okay, I was born in the hood. I'm not sure if the ghetto and the hood is two different things, but I was born in the hood. I was, my childhood was in the hood, but I was like okay with it, you know? Like I didn't see it as a bad place. I saw that this is what I have, and what I have is amazing. What I have is family. What I have is protection. What I have is love. What I have is like, you know, unconditional love. I have a parent. I have siblings. I have responsibilities to take care of my siblings. I have responsibility to be a man, to watch over my siblings. I had siblings that weren't even my siblings, but were responsible for me. And oh gosh, how did I get here? So, I mean, so my whole point is yes to drugs, okay? And drugs is just such a stigma word for it, right? It's like, so what's drugs? Like meth, all that stuff. Um, glass, spice, um, heroin, cocaine. Like, these are non-prescription drugs. Okay. Shrooms. Just, it blows my mind that we just categorize things and then we can just all of a sudden uncategorize them, like how marijuana became legalized after so many people have been imprisoned, so many people have you know, have gotten like, you know, all of a sudden it's just legalized, and it blows my mind that now if you have a medical card you're allowed to use this and consume it, you know, in a legalized place. Like you're able to do it. And yes, it's a plant, but also we know the obvious. It does alter your awareness. It alters your state, but not in a damaging way. It doesn't burn and kill your brain cells. That was the most ridiculous theory that I took on without solid evidence. And the evidence is that it the evidence is that I don't know, but where I'm at, if you want to hear my thoughts, you're gonna have to look up my social media pages, probably on YouTube and Facebook, because there I have where I believe that the sperm is the actual bone and marrow, whatever it's called, bone arrow The sperm is the bone, and then the sperm in a man is the bone. I don't know if it's in the woman too, but it's the bone. And then the flesh, right? The period blood that a woman gives off of is the flesh. So the blood is the flesh, and the sperm is the bone. And when the sperm swims to the quote unquote egg, right? It's more of a cocoon than an egg because yeah. So the sperm, then I think there's a lot of things that can be like edited and be better described, but based off the information that's already presented and based off me using that information to describe what the process of procreation is, for the physical body, for the vessel, that the sperm is the bone, right? So it starts off with little tiny pieces of the bone, and then it becomes, it connects and grows and sucks on the blood, which absorbs it, and then it becomes, bigger. And because there's so many different little cells that are merging and growing, I think that's also why I think that babies have more quote unquote bones than full grown adults. Also because they're more flexibility, because sperm hardens, okay, over time. And I think through the oxygen that the bone can breathe in through our skin, because even though our skin is closed, we can still absorb oxygen to the bone. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how. It's kind of how like the roots in the trees, in the leaves, it's kind of things like that. Like our hairs are like the leaves, right? Our skin is like, what I'm saying is the seed of life is a real thing, and I understand this stuff, and I wish I had the time and the ability to put this stuff into useful use. But unfortunately, or fortunately, more than likely unfortunately, I had to go through a path to get me here, a challenge to get me here. And it's not like me getting physically here, but to get me mentally and emotionally here, to get me in a way that I can digest this information and I can transmute it into English words, because I feel like there's a whole world ready to be evolved and transpired from achievers, some people that can connect to this type of energy and be able to be genuine about it and be able to persistently continue and try through all their dark errors and not let the darkness in them take over. Because I feel like there was a complete different path that I could have taken in my life where I wouldn't have been standing in a different in a dark route, so that's why when I do things that are maybe not the most acceptable, or if I break a rule or two, I just feel like it's not the worst thing. When I cheated on my twin flame, a person that I was walking a path with to teach me valuable lessons, I couldn't hold it in to myself. I had to let him know, and it gave me a peace of mind knowing that I told him. Regardless if he knew or not was not the point. It was the point that when I feel like I'm doing something that's not the best for me, I feel that it's best for me to just explain it, then, because I don't want to live my life knowing that I could have told you the truth, because I know what it feels like to lose somebody and never be able to physically get that chance. I have that perspective in my life, so my perspective was already different from the day that I was born. And yeah, that's how we are able to, I think that's how we are able to cross genes, is because there's genes in the cell, in the bones, and then there's genes in the blood. And I think these are two different types of of DNAs that flows into our body, and we might even have a mix of the two genes, and that's how we get the square, dominant, dominant, recessive, recessive. So anyways, thank you for listening, and I hope you guys are doing great, and I hope I pass. So if you like what you hear what you like, then drop that like. Peace.